I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good one. Good for grounding. I'm recording already.
Perfect. We entered the time portal, baby, where it just time is
Yeah.
illusory, it doesn't exist.
Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen within your relationships, your work, and most importantly, with the relationship with yourself. In this podcast, we talk about all things self-love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, and more. Hi, I'm your host, Celia Antonio, and I'm a women's sexuality and self-love coach, a mindfulness expert, and your cheerleader for your most grounded and expansive self-expression. You can connect with me on Instagram at selfexpressedbabe, and for all of my guest episodes, there will always be links in the show notes so that you can find them online. I give my deepest thanks to you for being here and spending your precious time with me today. Now let's begin our journey. Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen. We're joined today by Jenna Reiser. I'm so excited that you're here, Jenna.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So for our listeners, I'm just going to introduce you real quickly with your bio. So Jenna has claimed many roles in life, from mom, wife, elementary school teacher, oil lady, course creator, speaker, coach, healer, bartender, so multifaceted. And the
Absolutely.
one lesson, and the one lesson that she's learned in every role is that we're always changing, learning, and growing. That's so true. Jenna's true role in life is to fully just embrace herself in every season. Beautiful. And today we want to talk about parenting, self-expression, challenging seasons. We also, when we connected, we talked about how the woman is like the heart of the household, depending on what kind of household you have, if there is a woman in your household. And yeah, I'm excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I think these are subjects that a lot of us think about all the time, but we don't really talk about them all the time. So I'm excited to kind of dive in with you today.
Yeah, I love it. And then with challenging seasons, for me, what comes up is right now we're in a period of time, as we're recording, of change. Fall has kind of just begun, summer has come to an end, winter's around the corner, busy holiday season of maybe family and friend get-togethers are around the corner. So, and I know that you talk about self-love a lot in your content. So I would love to know what it is that you are doing with this season of change to honor your self-love, especially with juggling, that you're a mom and, you have all these roles in life.
Mm-hmm. So surprisingly enough, I love this question because I just did a really deep meditation 2 hours ago on this exact subject, because
Nice.
I personally am in this fall season of fall is kind of like the harvest, you know what I mean, where you yank everything up and then you get everything ready for the next year and you kind of go into this hibernation stage. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I used to feel like I had to kind of keep up with the hustle of the holidays. And now I'm like, no, I'm just not available for that. So it's kind of
Yeah.
more of this energy of, this is my season of downtime. This is my season of quiet. I tend to get off of social media for, you know, not always October, but for sure November and December, because there's so much noise, there's so
Yeah.
much chaos that it doesn't allow me to just be and create the memories that I want to create with myself and with my family. And I feel like a lot of self-love shaming comes in the holidays because you are
Mm,
around old trigger points, whether, maybe it's your family or siblings, things like that. And, there's a lot of unexplained expectations on how you need to perform when it comes to the holidays, and what your kids expect from you, and just kind of all those different areas. And so for me, this is a very depressive season. We lost my mother-in-law in November, 3 years ago. And then
mm-hmm.
my daughter was born with a heart defect the end of November on Thanksgiving Day. We were in the hospital until New Year's Eve with her. So it's there's a lot of old trauma that comes up
Mm,
during this time frame for me. And so
yeah.
this last year, I really took time to just feel my feelings, to be sad, to feel the grief, to all that. And now this year, I have like specific rituals. So, for example, if any of you are readers, the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorn and Roses, is like spicy fantasy fiction, fae romance. It is so good.
I've seen
And
that
I
on my like friends' Goodreads account, so they're reading it.
Yes,
I'm like, what is that?
that book literally changed my life. Like the way that I
Really?
see the divine
Hmm.
feminine within myself was birthed through that book series. It's so good. I've read it 6 times.
Nice. All right. I'll
Yeah.
have to get
So
that.
yes, A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah Maas or Mace or something like that. It's Maas, I think. But I am doing a ritual where I will literally sit and I have all of the books in their like pretty perfect little box form, and I get my warm coffee or my, tea, and I sit for 30 minutes to an hour every single day, and I just allow myself to be in the quiet calm of reading that series. And
Mm,
I've heard some people do like Harry Potter, and some people do like they have like those series that they love without any expectations in any way, shape, or form, has really allowed me to ground into the human experience right now versus the hustle and bustle of everything that's going on around me.
yeah. I love that so much. That's so important to take that time. And I love how you just meditated on this today, like not knowing that this is a question that would pop out. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I also asked it because it's also very much alive for me. Like maybe an hour before this call, during your meditation, maybe even, I like cleared my schedule for all of next week. And I'm like, I'm not doing any more podcast recordings this year. And the episode I'm releasing next week is going to be my last one for the year. Like I need the rest of the year off. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I could sense myself like starting to hold too much. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, in the name of self-love, I'm going to do something radical and decide it's a no. And
Mm-hmm.
when we do that, one of my kind of like favorite things to kind of observe is like, what is that, those little hints of people pleaser in me that comes up still? That's like, oh, so and so will be disappointed, or what if they
Yep.
decide, not to work with me or not to reschedule? What if they're like, ah, whatever, not doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that people pleaser side comes through so much with women, especially if you're in the realm of motherhood,
Mm,
because as mothers, we have ourselves, but then we have this deep love for our children and for the people that are within our home that we choose to have in our home, right? Like we chose to have these children, we chose to get married and have a partner, like we chose to have them in our space, but
hmm.
we also are ourselves, and we are,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so being able to listen to the heck yeses or the hell no's, of like, yeah, I'm not available for this. I don't want to do it. I think that's been a really hard thing for me with the people pleasing side, is saying no without an explanation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where
Like,
it's like, no is a complete sentence. Like,
yeah.
it's okay. Just be like,
Yeah.
no,
No, I'm not available for that. Yeah.
no.
That's so true. I used to explain myself away anytime I had to say no. And that's
Hmm.
not a good feeling to like feel like you need to explain it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is I just had this conversation with my daughter the other day. My daughter is almost 9,
Okay.
and she has inherited my people pleasing toxic trait very deeply. So I'm healing myself as we're healing her at the same time, which is so much fun.
Love it.
Lots of sarcasm in that, not fun at all. um, and we discussed this whole idea of it is not her responsibility to make other people feel comfortable or to make adults feel comfortable, right? Because she's had a lot of people in her life right now who have, oh, well, Tinley, it hurts my feelings when you do this. Oh, or, well, are you not going to do this? Like, that makes grandma sad, so it's like a lot of that kind of that energy that a lot of people do. Like, I don't think that they're intentionally gaslighting her and trying to make her feel like crap, right? But I had this conversation with her where I said, it is not your responsibility to make other people feel comfortable. It is your responsibility to make sure you feel comfortable and you feel safe. And then you can, like, obviously you love the people that are in your life. You want to make them feel important, but not at the expense of yourself, right? And so even when it comes to the holidays or it comes to family functions and things like that, a lot of times we wake up and we feel miserable that day, right? Like, as women, like, we can't choose when Christmas is. Like, we might be first day of our period and it's Christmas morning and we're like, F word. I want to hate you all right now, right? But giving ourselves permission to, instead of getting up and making the homemade, cinnamon rolls Christmas morning like you promised and doing all these things, you say, hey, you guys, mommy just started her period today and I feel like crap. So I'm going to sit on the couch and I am going to watch you open your presents. And if you want to come and cuddle in my lap, we are here for it. We love it. But this is what I'm doing. So it's like creating that space for your family to love them in it, but at the same time, honoring your yes and your no. I don't know about you, but in my relationships, I value the friends that are just honest. We're like, Jenna, I don't have the energy for this today. Or, like, I'd much rather have those friendships than the people that show up even when they're miserable and they just fake it,
Yeah, or people who will constantly reschedule plans when you can sense that they wanted to say no in the beginning. And it's better to just be honest. But I do have compassion for it at the same time, because it's like, I know they said yes because they love me. But yeah, you're right. I have way more respect for you if you are like, no, I don't have space for that. First of all, I'm like, dang, girl, I want to get on your level of like boundary setting. I love that. Yeah. So I'd love to know how motherhood has changed your self-expression, because there's so many facets of self-expression and there's so many like facets of being a woman. And how do you have the space to even express yourself when you're juggling all these things?
So for me, it has been an experiment. So my oldest is almost 9, and it has changed in every single season. And I think that's a big thing. I don't know about you other mamas, but this triggers me so bad, where I will figure it out and then everybody changes. And then I have to figure it out again, and then everybody changes, to where it's like you get a good system, you get a good routine, you get a good ritual, and you're like, okay, I have arrived. Yes, I have solved all of the mothering problems and I can handle this. And then it's like your kids are growing, they're evolving, right? Your spouse is growing and evolving, you're growing and evolving. And so everything tends to shift. So for me, I have focused on the little things that really, really matter. So for a season, I would call it my God time, which was my quiet time, where whether I was meditating or I was dancing or I was, writing letters to God, like whatever I was doing in that season, my kids knew that this was my quiet time. And so if I was doing God time, you had to leave me alone. Like it was just, that's what it was, right? It was a boundary that I set. Now, did they honor it every single time? Absolutely not. Did my kids come in sometimes and just need cuddles? Yes. And I'd say, okay, I'm doing God time. Do you need a cuddle? And they'd be like, yeah, I just want a hug. Okay, give me a hug. All right, now you need to go watch your show. I'm doing my God time. And so it's like, I would just keep reiterating that. And so now if they come in and they see my candle lit and my headphones in, they are very careful about coming into my space because they know that I've set that boundary up. And same thing with my husband. He knows that if he comes home from the gym and I've got my candle going and I've got my noise canceling like headphones, he doesn't interrupt me. He knows that I'm going to come out when I'm ready to come out. And so I think for me, finding that self-expression has been looking at what are the little things that really, really matter. And then how do I let those evolve as my family's shifting, as I'm shifting? So my number one boundary is open communication. So when I am overstimulated, my 6-year-old, he knows the word overstimulated. So when I say, hey guys, mommy's overstimulated, they know that means, oh, mommy doesn't want to be touched. Mommy can't solve any of my problems right now. I just need to take a deep breath. And I tell them, I say, guys, when I'm overstimulated, I'm not my highest self. I'm not going to love you the way that my heart wants to love you, because I'm like a little kid right now and my brain's going inside, and I need to and come down. So go set your timer, give me 5 minutes. And so it's like figuring out little things like that is what has allowed me to keep myself. Now, am I perfect? Hell no. I have screwed up so many times, and I have yelled at my kids because I'm overstimulated, and then I come back and I apologize to them because I'm like, hey, mommy was overstimulated and I did not honor my boundary the way that I needed to. So I think it's figuring out what your non-negotiable is in yourself, and then allowing her to flow in the evolving relationships with your family.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you have that open communication of your 6-year-old. It's like, imagine if everyone at 6 already knew what that word meant, overstimulated. And not only are you setting those great boundaries for yourself to be your own person outside of the identity of mom, you're also teaching your children how to do that for themselves when they're adults, which I think is the most important part. And I also love that you talked about setting a boundary, but you also illustrated how you not only just set the boundary, you were devoted to that. You're like, everyone knows by this time that if your candle's going, if your noise canceling headphones are on, that's it, that you're busy. And
doing whatever I want, but I am here.
Yeah. And another thing you said that I loved was that like, even though you've called it God time, like, it's looked different in all these different seasons, and I think that's where maybe a lot of moms, and also anyone who's in like the self-development space in general, can get a little hung up, because there seems to be this kind of dialogue of like, meditate every single day 6 a.m. or wake up every single day at 5:30. Like, it's like a do this thing every single day, otherwise like you failed.
Yeah. Well, and that's not how the divine feminine works. Like, as feminine beings, we are very flow. We are not meant to be rigid. Now, does structure create safety? Absolutely, right? So like, having a boundary creates safety, which then allows us to feel good in our, development of self, that masculine container. But at the same time, I am going through a journey, or I have been going through a journey of healing my toxic masculine energy. I came from women who were very much so like, my grandmother, she was in a horrible marriage where, she was the main person. She did everything. She was not emotionally supported in any way, shape, or form. She's had a lot of issues with men growing up. And then my dad was military. So my mom was forced into those roles because he would be gone for 6, 7, 8 months at a time. And she had to be in the masculine energy. So growing up, I was always like the phrase of, that you have to teach men how to treat you. And, oh, you need to, you don't need a man, you choose a man. Like, just kind of those energies around that masculine energy. I had that toxic trait of, I'll just do it. It's fine. I'll get it done. Like, I don't need your help. I can just figure it out, because that was how I felt safe, was not leaning on my masculine counterpart. And so in healing that masculine energy, it was like, wait, women, we need the masculine container, but we need the ability to change our minds and to flow and to follow our
Yes.
intuition. And that doesn't mean that we're not powerful and we can't get shit done. And like we are all of those things, but we are meant to follow that flow and that change because honestly, a lot of men have a very hard time with change. Whereas
Mm.
women, we have um, this ability to just naturally shift and change. Our body is changing. I mean, every
Every
single,
week.
every week, we are going through a completely different span of emotions and feelings and, heightened awareness. Whereas men, they go like this day by day. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
like their cycle is 24 hours. So it's
Yeah.
so routine in their daily life. Whereas with women, it's not like that. So it's a blessing, but it's also a curse at the same time sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I also wonder about like besides our inner seasons, like also how the seasons in our external environment affect us. You know, like
mhm.
if you live somewhere where it snows, no matter what body type you're in, like if or what gender you are, I'm sure when it's snowing, you want to be cozied up and be inside. And I'd love to know how you are there any like specific rituals you like to do for certain seasons or certain times of the year?
So for me, I'm really just stepping into this side of like rituals because
Nice.
I coming out of the toxic masculinity side, I was like routines. I need routines. As a mother,
Yeah.
if I have routines, it makes sense. And so that's very rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas so I don't know if you know this or not, but I completely walked away from my company. So I had a very
Oh,
successful, yeah, yes. So I had a very successful coaching and event company where we did live retreats and women's events. And I called myself a spiritual joy coach where I helped women find their spiritual source within themselves.
yeah.
And I loved it. But what I was realizing was I I didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm, yeah.
Like I was really good at it, but I didn't want to do it anymore. And so when you get to that season in life as a woman, if and especially I don't know if you follow human design or not, but I'm a generator, which
Okay. Me too.
generators are
Yeah.
we have to be turned on. If we are
Yeah.
not turned on and find joy in something, it's out of alignment with us. So
Yeah.
like the moment that this call starts like not being fun to me and it becomes a chore, that means I'm no longer in alignment and I need to step out of the energy, right?
Yeah.
So I've really started honing in on that side of me. And what I'm noticing with rituals is I desire to create rituals, not just in the daily, but in like the connecting to the earth. Right. So
Ooh,
that
yes.
I want to hibernate right now. Like I really do. The winter is coming. I'm like, come on, fall. Like I need you to just get here. I keep having this download of like, let go, let go, let go. Like I want to let go energetically, physically, um, friendship wise. Like there's friends I don't even talk to anymore. Like not that I don't love them, but I'm like, we just don't serve each other anymore. Like our
Yeah.
season has passed. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's more of the ritual of allowing the natural energy. Like, I don't know about you, but it drives me insane how people set New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I
that is
I
not the time
used to
of rebirth.
I used to though be like so adamant about doing that. Like honestly, since I was maybe like 14, like I was a very
Hmm.
type A, straight A student type of kid. And I did not let that go until probably like honestly 2020, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that, like I never put two and two together of like, with nature, things aren't sprouting yet in on January 1st. So why would you set a new intention? Like, shouldn't we be setting our goals, which I also don't even really like that word anymore.
Me either.
Yeah, in spring or like another thing that I've been playing with this year is like setting those in this time of year
Hmm.
and then surrendering to that for all of winter and then things sprout in the spring. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you bring that in. The January is not it's very counterproductive.
Well, and I kind of wonder if that's part of why depression is so high. Now, granted, like I know during the holidays, like a lot of grief can be triggered, you know, in losing loved ones and things like
Yeah.
that. But January and February has one of the highest suicide rates in that month. You know, and I used to live in Utah, and they would have it called like the inversion, where just the way that the weather worked, it like almost created this gloom, like gray shadow in the valley for all of February. And I really do think that part of it is because so many people put so much pressure on themselves. So they're in like fight or flight during the holidays. And then January and February come in, and it's like there isn't really a whole lot of fun, exciting things in January and February. So they've set these intentions. They're coming off of the fight or flight, and then they just watch themselves fail because according to the Earth's natural patterns, you're meant to be cozy and hibernate and release and let things go during that season. Like everything's supposed to be dead at that point because it's growing on the inside, you know?
Yeah.
It's being kept warm and snowpacked. And so then it's like that, I feel like that's the seasonal depression, but it's more because we set these intentions and then we watch ourselves fail because we're setting ourselves up for failure rather than just going with the natural flow of the earth. Like imagine if everybody just hid for all of January and February with their families. Like literally just go and hibernate
bear caves.
with the people that you love. Go cozy up next to them. Focus on creating like warm, hearty meals together, and you know, going to bed early and sitting by the fireplace and reading books. Like, what if that, for me, that's the ritual we're doing. That's what I'm focusing on for, you know, November, December, and then January and February. That's a season of us becoming one as a family again. So when we step out in spring, we're like, we're here. We've arrived. Hi.
Yeah.
we know who we are. We know what we love. And this is what we're giving to the world now, you know, as a family unit and as individuals.
I love that. Something that's coming up for me to ask for listeners, just in case this whole kind of like conversation about ritual is new to some people. What would you say is the difference between routine versus ritual?
I love that question because this is something I've actually really had to departmentalize in my brain. For me, a routine is something that must be stuck to, whereas a ritual is the word that's coming through is a romantic practice.
Oh,
like,
I like that.
I love to romance my life. Like, so for me, a routine is like, okay, I wake up, I brush my teeth, I make my bed, I drink a glass of water, and then I start making my coffee, right? Like that's a routine. A, B, C, D is done. Whereas a ritual is I wake up, I turn on my soft music, I start brushing my teeth as I move my hips to my soft music as I'm brushing my teeth, right? Then I put on my cozy slippers, and I open up all the blinds, start letting the light in. I go in, drink my water, say my prayer over myself as the water goes down into my throat. And then I turn on my coffee and just and breathe in the smell of my coffee. So A, B, C, D got done, but the ritual had this deep grounded like reverence and romanticism to it, to where when you're watching a movie, do you want to watch somebody just get out of bed, brush their teeth? Guys, come on, let's hurry up. You know, is that really what you want to watch? Or do you want to hear the background music and you see her dancing into her living room? It's a totally different frequency when you're watching it. And, you know, us girls, we love rom-coms and romance novels. Why the F can we not live it? Like, let's just make it. Let's just do it because we want to. Like, you know? And I love music. I don't know about you, but music just shifts everything for me. So every single one of my rituals has music involved. So like cleaning. When I hate cleaning. Hate it.
Oh my God. Music makes cleaning so much better. Or like even an audiobook. Like I can't not listen to an audiobook while I vacuum now. I'm in like I have a lot of carpet to vacuum in the place I'm in. And it takes forever and I don't want to do it. But if I'm listening to an audiobook, at least I'm entertained while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I think too, my husband always jokes, and it triggers me sometimes because he's like, Jenna, you set the frequency of our household. And sometimes it can feel like such a burden because
Mm.
sometimes I'm sad and sometimes I'm angry and sometimes I don't want to set the frequency of the household, right? And I think as moms, we kind of put that shame on ourselves when we start to fall or we start to feel something other than being the best mom ever, right? And I think I think that pulling in rituals for our kids can help shift them too, right? So
Mm.
even bedtime routines, like making romanticizing those, making, you say the same affirmations together or you say the same prayer together. And you sleep on certain sides of the bed when you're cuddling them. Like, it's creating that safety, that masculine container again for your kids where, okay guys, it's time to clean up our rooms, let's turn on our favorite playlist. And so it's teaching them what you're teaching yourself, to create and romanticize the things that you don't necessarily want to do, or that are hard and are frustrating and uncomfortable, right? So
Yeah.
that's something I would like to work on. I'm not very good at that yet because I'm
Mm-hmm.
just really coming into it for myself. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
something I want to do with my kids in this season.
Yeah. I love that, because then the things that will, because to create a life that we love, it requires us to take action. We can't be in that resting hibernation phase all year. Darn it, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, we can't. Um, yeah, and I resonate with you as well, that like I like to use music, I like to romanticize things, and it's still a work in progress. I think because just being in that like rigidity of getting things done quickly and efficiently is kind of conditioned into us. I don't know if it comes
Yeah.
from school or from working 9 to 5 job. Like, it really is just like society kind of pumps out humans that are like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if anyone is listening who is working on breaking away from that and, finding whatever balance works for you, you're not alone and it takes time. And yeah, be gentle with yourself in the process. And what I also love to bring in is curiosity of like,
Hmm.
okay, this ritual and or routine isn't working for me. So instead of shaming myself of why I'm not doing yoga in the morning, what can I do instead? And that's a
Yeah.
real that's a real example from my real life.
Yes. Well, and I think too, that's a big part of the evolution of our soul journey, is we're meant to ebb and flow. We're meant to shift and change. And so when we give ourselves permission to not do it the same, especially even, so we're going into a new season in life with my kids where they are now 6 and almost 9. And they are very different than the toddler stage. Like the toddler stage, it was make sure they feel loved and make sure they are alive. You know what I mean? Like that was the main priority. But
Yeah.
now they're these little humans that they want to argue and they want to ask questions and they have opinions. And so it's this
Hmm.
completely different dynamic within our household, to
Yeah.
where, when they're a toddler, I'm like, nope, it's nap time. Like, I don't care that you don't want to take a nap. You're taking a nap right now because I know
Yeah.
what's best for you as your mother. Like, you need your nap and I need your nap. Whereas my 9-year-old, she doesn't want to go to bed at 8 o'clock when we tell her to go to bed at 8 o'clock.
Hmm.
And we were fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. And she was just wanting more independence. So instead, what
Hmm.
we did was, now my husband and I lay down with my son, who's 6, and he really needs that one-on-one time with us. And
Hmm.
so we lay down with him, we talk about our day, we read him a book, we turn on a meditation, and we fall asleep with him. Whereas my oldest, she gets about 30 to 45 minutes of alone time in her room. So she's 100% ready. She turns down the lights where it's like a low glow, and she can journal, she can play with her dolls, she can read, but that's like her quiet time, and she gets to stay up later, but it's not watching a show. Or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
Yeah.
creating that routine of winding down for the night, which is what she's going to do as a teenager when
Yeah.
Tori and I are going to bed at 10 and Tin's up at midnight, 1 o'clock, and she's like, I just can't sleep. I've got too much going on in my brain. Like, we've been there.
Yeah.
So it's letting, in each season as we grow as adults and as kids is letting it flow and shift to make everybody be at peace.
Yeah. I love that. What do you think is one of your favorite lessons that like just like surrendering to this, you know, surrendering to this truth that like, you know, we shift, we grow, and you even I think you even put that in your bio that we're always changing, learning and growing. So this
Mm-hmm.
kind of like ever evolving piece of life. What is one of your favorite lessons that you've learned
I
from
think
that?
so. I don't even really love the word surrender because I think we use that word a lot as almost like we don't have control. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Because like a lot of people are like surrender to the universe, give it over to the universe. I'm like, no, you are mother effing creating it with the universe. Like you are like one with the divine in that sense. And so for the longest time, everyone would always tell me, Jenna, just surrender. Jenna, just surrender, right? And for me, I think the biggest lesson was it's not about surrendering or just like it is what it is. I'm giving it in. Like I'm just going to go with the flow. Like it's not that apathetic attitude. It's much more of, I love the word you said, curiosity, right? Of like, huh, okay, let's try this. Like, all right, this isn't working anymore. So I'm not going to just surrender to the fact that chaos is happening right now. I'm going to look at the chaos and ask, like, okay, how can I play in this chaos? You
Yeah.
know, like you walk into a party and everyone's jumping up and down and freaking out, and all that. And it's like, okay, well, you can either choose to just dive into it and hope for the best. You can choose to walk away, or you can find the people that you resonate with and jump in and just do what you can do in that season, right? So I
Hmm.
think the biggest lesson for me is it's not about surrendering and surviving or even adapting. It's about
Mm.
playing. Like
Mm.
we
Yeah.
are given this human experience, and I mean, I'm sure everybody listening believes different things. For me, I personally believe that we are spiritual beings that come and have many different lives to evolve in whatever that thing is that your soul needed for that time. And
Uh-huh.
so, for my lifetime right now, I know that I am meant to play. I
I
am
love
meant to
that.
experiment. I am meant to get messy. I am just meant to see what happens. And so it's like, instead of surrendering, it's more of like, oh, let's play. Let's see what happens. Like, and even when it's like a total shit show, I can sit there and be like, whew, okay, we're going to play in this. Let's see what happens in the dirt. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest lesson is it's way more fun to play. Just
Yeah.
way more fun to play with it. And it makes it less heavy. It makes it less hard.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I love that that distinction kind of takes charge away, and you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of adapt that to anything that you're working towards in life, you know?
And you're not going to arrive. Like,
Mm.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you've experienced this or not, but in like the self-help and, that finding your higher self and all that kind of stuff world, um, it's like you're always striving to be better. But what
Yeah.
if you just are?
Yeah. Or
Like,
even go ahead.
no, go, or even,
I was going to say, or even you like you mentioned books earlier and how like we like to read romance novels and all that stuff. I'm a huge reader, and something kind of related to this is that you will never read all of the books that exist. There will always be more books to read.
mm-hmm, I love that. Mhm.
So kind of
Yeah.
like applying that as like a metaphor to life. You won't ever there won't ever be like, all right, I'm complete.
Mm-hmm.
I am now embodied in my highest self at all times.
Well, I saw a phrase not too long ago, and it was, I'm no longer searching for my highest self. I'm choosing to be my favorite self.
Ooh.
And I was like, I love that because your favorite self is going to change. There's seasons where
Yeah.
you are the powerhouse woman who's taking on the world. And then there's seasons where you're the fairy who's running through the flower field. Like, and then there's the seasons where you're the dramatic vixen who takes over the world. Like, and then
Yeah.
you have your villain season where you're just a bitch because you feel like it. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it feels good to have bitchy boundaries. It just feels good. And so it's like, I love that idea of I am just embracing my favorite self for right now. And
Yeah.
she might change tomorrow, but it's not like this, oh, I'm not in my highest self right now. Like, again, it's that shame. It's that not enoughness.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not available for that anymore.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So I have this set of questions I like to ask every guest,
Okay.
and I'm feeling called to move into that. So the first question is, what does self-love mean to you?
Interesting. So the first word that came up was acceptance. And then I was like, no.
I feel like that's the most common answer I
Uh-huh.
get.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Not
that's
that it's
exactly.
wrong.
I'm like, that's what's supposed to be answered. That's not what I really think. What do I really think? The word that's coming through is like embracement, like embracing. Self-love is embracing, right? So it's just, it's just being okay with what is and just embracing it. Like, think about when you embrace somebody, you hug someone, right? So whether your brain is doing what it is or your body's doing what it is, are you embracing it and just hugging it and letting it be where it is right now?
Mm-hmm. And then what makes you feel the most grounded?
So two things. One is like that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Ooh.
I just like just that as you just like feel the warmth go down into your soul. That makes me feel very, very grounded, especially if I can do it like outside in like the crisp, like fall kind of air. That definitely grounds me. It's the hot and the cold mixture.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other groundedness, I don't know what your people are like that watch your podcast, but my husband and I don't know if those who are married have experienced this, but intimacy is very difficult when you are with children. And so we've noticed that our intimacy has dropped a lot because we're exhausted, because we're tired and things like that. And so what we started doing is what we call skin to skin.
Aw, that's
And
cute.
so like what you do with a child, where literally you
Yeah.
just bare chested. So we get naked and it's just skin to skin and there's no expectation. We might have sex, we might not, but it's just this moment
Yeah.
of like co-regulation with each other where it's like, I love you, I see you, I embrace you, we are here. And 9 times out of 10 it leads to something and it's fantastic. But
Yeah.
that's what we've noticed, that whenever we are overstimulated or we're not feeling connected, we just message the other one and we say, hey, I need skin to skin.
Yeah.
And so that's really this season, that has really helped me ground a lot. It's let me be my little girl self, but in my older feminine womanhood, So,
Yeah. I love
yeah.
that so much. That's such a nice little, like, simple
Mm-hmm.
moment of connection to create. That's
I love
beautiful.
it. I love
Yeah.
it so much.
Something my husband and I have been playing with because he has an insane work schedule at the moment. So we've
Mm-hmm.
also have experienced a drop in intimacy is playing with like the bookends of the day, like the very beginning of the day, very end of the day. End of the day, we're not so great with because I usually go to bed before he does. But beginning of the day, I've been for the last 2 weeks like trying to wake up early so that we can at least have coffee together before he leaves. And
Yeah.
it makes such a difference to just have even just like 5 minutes of like undivided
Mm-hmm.
attention and eye contact or, holding their hand, drinking coffee, starting that morning together really makes a difference before you like
Yeah.
go out into the rest of your day.
Yeah. Love that. That's really sweet.
Yeah. So the next question is, what is your favorite part about being a woman?
Creation. Like I so my sister's pregnant right now. My
Oh,
little sister, who swore she was never going to have children,
yeah.
is 17 weeks pregnant with the love of her life. And it's going to make me cry. For me, and not even, I'm not, I know that not all of us choose to have children, and I know not all of us can have children. but the fact that women are designed to bring life to the world, not just in the sense of a human life, but we are that sacral energy of creation. We see the world different. We just do. And it's humbling and it's beautiful, and it's just like such a gift that we get to co-create with the divine to bring life to this world. And um I think that's my favorite. It's just it's so freaking cool.
I
You know,
love it.
and again, it's not just having babies, but like you just energetically, your womb space is meant for creation. So, you know, whether that's birthing a business or it's birthing a new type of relationship in your marriages or in your friendships, like we were meant to bring new life to this world in all aspects. So,
yeah. I love how I love all the emotion that came through in that.
thank
And
you.
I know that you mentioned, you know, it's not only babies, but I am curious to know how your like perspective of just human beings in general shifted once you gave birth, because like you're seeing that beginning that every
Mm-hmm.
human goes through. How did that change how you viewed humanity?
Oh, goodnesses. That's a really deep question.
Feel
We
free
can
to,
go there though.
yeah. Okay, I was gonna say feel free to answer it, you know, after we stop recording, because I really just want to know for myself. Like, I'm curious.
I think for me, it's interesting because, okay, I'm just going to go with my intuitive answer here.
Okay.
It's this very interesting play between the ego and the soul. Because
Mm,
I think as women, we have been knocked down over and over and over again in our power, right? Like, oh,
yeah.
you're just a mom, or oh, you're just a homemaker, or oh, you're just a woman, right? But if you look at like ancient times, right? Like the women were the leaders of the tribes. They were the intuitives. Like the men were the protectors, but the men came to the women and asked them, "Hey, we've got this problem. Can you take it to source and figure out what to do?" Like the women were the shaman. The women were these like these deep goddesses of the
Mm-hmm.
time, and they were revered as these deep, powerful, intuitive beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think society now makes women out to be not big. You know, like even like me talking with my hands and stuff, like people would make fun of me all the time because like, Jenna, you're so intense. And I'm like, yeah, and like you know, ever since a little girl, you're too loud. Shh. Like, so we're just constantly made to be little.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are giving birth, when you are making life, like you just all of that programming disappears. And I'm not saying like if you got an epidural, that's totally fine. That's awesome. If you got a C-section, that's amazing. Like you brought your child into the world the way that you were meant to bring your child into the world. So that means you are phenomenal on all counts, right? For me personally, the primal like pushing out of a human being out of my body with an audience of people around me. So both of my
Oh,
births were very on display.
yeah.
The first one was just because my sister was there, one of my best friends was there, my mom, my dad, my husband, like they were
Mm-hmm.
just all there. And then I was able to use a mirror to actually see her come out because I was having trouble
Oh,
pushing.
cool. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want a mirror at first because I felt like that was weird to like watch your vagina push something out. I don't know why I thought that was weird, but then like she kept coming and then got like, sucking back in basically,
Mm.
and they're like, "She's right there, Jenna. Like you're so close," and everyone was pissing me off because they were all telling me I was so close and I wasn't doing it. So I was like, "Give me the damn mirror!" And so they gave me the mirror, and with one push, she came out, and then everyone was like, "Oh my gosh," because her head was huge. Um, and they were like, "Yeah, no, that little tuft of hair was not her head." I'm like, "I know." But there's something about like the primal, just like whoa, of pushing a human out of your body after you were a host and you gave everything to that child, that it unlocks this like deep secret power within you that society has been trying to squash. Because
Mm,
there's been so many times people talk about like a mother's intuition. It's true. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there are times where I know something about my child. I'm like, it just is. I know this. Do not argue with me. I know this to be true. And it's just a deep connection. And I think that women who are able to have the privilege of going through that experience, it's almost like a shock, like how they do like the jumper cables on your your heart to your intuition, because I don't
mm,
think that you can push out a child and grow a child without having that shock factor of, I'm really effing powerful, like really powerful. Um, so yeah, in a nutshell, that's how it's affected me,
thank you for
whether you want to
sharing
keep that
all
in the
that.
episode or not.
No,
But
I think it's powerful. Yeah, if you're comfortable
yeah,
with me sharing it.
oh, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. And my son, he was born, I tried to labor at home longer because I had kind of a yucky experience at the hospital with Tinley. So I
Uh-huh.
tried to labor longer with Jet, and uh, my water broke right as we were leaving. All of a sudden, I was like, I need to get on all fours. And I got on all fours, and my water broke, and his head was right there. So we had a 20-minute drive of me literally holding his head in the entire time. And we get to the hospital, and my midwife meets me at the hospital door, like roundabout in the car, and I'm laying down, and she's like, Jenna, I don't feel a head. You're fine. You're good. Let's get you up on the gurney and we'll get you upstairs. Well, she lifts me and half of his head pops out into her hands. And
Oh,
yeah, so she was like, just kidding me. Car door open. Jenna's just on display as people are walking into the front lobby. So it's
yeah.
like, I don't know, when you go through that experience, you just like that people pleasing, that fear of not being powerful or being powerful, of judgment, of all of it,
Hmm.
like you just deeply lean into that trust of self. And mothers are constantly told not to trust themselves, but it's like
Yeah.
innate inside of you. And so I think when mamas finally step into their mama bear, you don't have to be mean, you just need to be honest,
Mm, yeah.
you know so yeah.
Just being direct. Not
Yep.
available for that.
Yep.
Tie it back in to the beginning.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for that question. I needed to hear myself answer that question. So
Oh,
thank you.
yay. Yay. Yeah, you're welcome. That just came up intuitively. Um,
Yeah.
for anyone that's listening who wants to connect with you and chat with you more, find out about what you're up to, where can they find you?
So I'm probably on Instagram the most. So just createjoy.jenna is my Instagram page. Currently I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the social media world, because I did run a company for so long, and now I desire for social media to be a place of self-expression rather than
Mm-hmm.
a place of performance.
Mm,
And I feel like sometimes when you're running a company, you're trying to perform to meet the needs of the people you want to serve. And
yeah.
so for me, I'm desiring for social media to be a creative outlet where I get to play,
Yeah.
where I get to talk about the things I want to talk about and express the things I want to express. So if you want to be my friend, createjoy.jenna, and you can just come do life with me. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Perfect. That'll be linked below. And I'm
Yeah,
excited to see how that play unfolds for you.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.